How would you like to start this? Not a podcast.
Start at the beginning.
Someone asked ChatGPT, what's the best way to intro a podcast, right? Okay, let's start with that beginning. Introduce yourself, what you do.
James Taylor.
I'm Deepak. So let's say you've got that prickly customer, and I'm definitely not basing this on any reality, but you can check my job history and you can figure out who it might be. So you will always get a position, I felt, through my career, where people come in thinking they know the answer, but their universe was so small that they just haven't opened their eyes to reality. How do you deal with misconceptions of what security is, or we speak about just get it done. Security is just something you can just get done.
Just do it. Yeah, the shortened version of that answer.
Yeah. No trademarks infringed.
No. I think it's education. Yes, sometimes people don't want to be educated, but I try. And I stress try. It's not always successful, or at least the first or the second or the third or the seventh time. I try to be in a place where I'm doing what's right for the customer, for the colleague, whoever it may be, even if it doesn't necessarily land in the right way the first time. Because if you're not there to make a difference again, why are you doing it? It's the rationale. So I want to be useful. I want to be able to provide something that's of value.
So do you step back and show them the whole landscape, or do you push them in and show them the detail? Where would you begin managing that from a security aspect? Because
it depends on the person. Sometimes people don't want to know the detail. So I could talk about particular politicians. I'm not going to name names, but there are
their initials.
There are some politicians that just do broad brushstrokes. Okay, and they just want to get outcomes, it's oven ready or something. And there are others that want to do the detail, but they're not necessarily interested in the presentation aspect. They just want to get to the why is this working. So each of those scenarios with your stakeholder, you're trying to understand how they operate as well. And it may be that the person that doesn't do detail has somebody else that does. So you then talk to that person to then get the detail, or work on the detail to then provide the right answer, brief them, and then come back to the main stakeholder and have that conversation. So it's the mechanics of the environment and the people, the team.
Yeah. So is it a realization for the customer when they realize you can't do this alone? There's no version of this. From what you're saying is there's no Superman version of the answer.
No, to be secure, and secure, that's a subjective point. You need to do it with other trusted parties, and that's also coming back to the trust piece. At some point, you have to trust somebody. But how you do it and when you do it is the decisions made by the individual or the company, but doing it in a way in which provides you with the most secure environment tends to be when you have people that are informing you with the facts, with the figures, with the known knowns, the known unknowns, not necessarily the unknown unknowns, but having a plan in place, proper planning and preparation for those scenarios moving forward, because without that you end up reacting to things and not necessarily in the most efficient, the most secure, or for the best outcomes.
So let's pick up on those reactions, because I believe it or not, I did actually have some questions prepared at some point, but I'm going to check them again now.
Okay.
But you picked up on one of them around reactions. So I always get the fear when talking to security people that the majority aren't doing it well, which is why we're sitting here talking, right? We've got if everyone was doing this brilliantly, we wouldn't
have a career.
We wouldn't have still analogies
have a
needed
different
in the
career.
world. Yeah. I'll be just writing analogies full time. You'll still be fixing and creating manuals, right? But if you're coming in to help a business after it's gone wrong, and you're right, somebody might have come in and sold them some snake oil
Yeah.
just to quickly get them back up and running. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what snake oil is, it's not a real thing. I swear we're going to show our age by the end of this. So snake oil is a concept of something magical that's going to fix everything for a moment, right?
Mythical beast like a unicorn.
Yeah, that's it. Doesn't exist. Or sorry if you believe in unicorns. So someone's come in, they've offered the snake oil after the critical cyber event or what it might be. Someone else has come in and said, I'll offer you an arm around the shoulder, from a comfortable company that might be just somebody you might trust but aren't actually helping you. So you come along to this business, you're an expert, they're still looking for snake oil, they're still looking for that comfortable feeling.
Yeah.
But what are the things you won't compromise on when it comes to solutionizing to support a business on their journey?
Don't lie.
Okay. Give me more. Why did lie come first? So are you seeing a lot of untruths out there?
I think it's about also white lies. So not necessarily giving the full truth or presenting something that isn't necessarily completely true. I think also it's reputational, because you can build up a reputation over years, but you can lose it in an instant if you say the wrong thing and it impacts in a negative way, either relationship or actual business tangible aspect.
So how do customers handle that truth? Because I'm going to pick you up on that first hit, because you were instant in saying don't lie.
Yeah.
So then how do you present that version of the truth to someone who's still recovering?
So the common one in any conversation about what issues they're going through is they'll ask you a question and you may not have the answer there and then. You say, I don't know, but I'll come back to you on that point, and you take an action. So if you don't know, say you don't know.
It's okay to
not know. It's okay not to not know.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So not to say, oh yeah, we did this, this and this for this customer. Yeah, and without actually knowing that that's going to be the right solution, let alone, the same for the same customer scenario. So you need to have your integrity. And your reputation is everything. I think insecurity particularly, you can lose it, and that's it. If you're not the trusted advisor.
So that's for you as a professional, and then obviously
me personally, and I would say
in
people that are seasoned in the industry, you tend to find those types. That's who you are. It's ingrained in you.
So then you can go backwards 25 years, and you've seen the journey from there. Leap forward 25 years time, when you actually, where's security in the future? How does security look to you? Not from, actually, let me make the question nicer. If the world listened to the things that you wanted to be integral to security, the people, facing the truth, all that kind of stuff, and building your castle in the right way, what does the future look like? Well, how would you want to see security evolve?
Yeah, I think everybody's nirvana is different.
Yeah, exactly. What's yours from your perspective?
I would want to have an environment that's simpler, or at least perceived to be simpler.
In what way? What's the complication at the moment?
I think, well, it comes back to that information piece, that everybody's got lots of information. You take your desktop, for example, you'll get lots of pop-ups from various different channels, some of them relating to the system, some of them relating to your communication. So you take out all of the noise. So what's the most important aspects for that person? What are they trying to achieve in their day, whether that's a personal relationship piece or in business? And provide them with more certainty and more comfort. So it's the comfortable pair of shoes, really. If security is done well, it's seamless, that it doesn't disrupt. Only if it has to, blink, flashing red in your face. If there's a real problem that you need that person to react to or do something about. But and it also comes back to education. If they're an informed person, they will know what to do in those scenarios. So I would hope that principle basis is keep it simple, because often if you make it more complicated, some people understand it but not many. So you're trying to look at that 80% rule, really. The majority of people understand their responsibilities. You're never going to get to 100%, but you're trying to get the most you can out of a scenario. So I would say for the main, try and provide an environment which is better communicated, reduced friction, And these all sound more not related to security, but more ergonomics. But it comes back to that people piece.
Yeah.
Maybe the AI comes into it, but I see AI as another persona, another person, as part of the chain, whether that's chain of custody or another aspect. It's a supportive tool, or a hostile entity.
Yeah, your knight in shining armor could also be the enemy.
Yeah, the villain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so then, I don't know why it resonated. Maybe because I've still got young kids. It's the education.
Yeah.
It needs to start earlier, surely.
I wouldn't say earlier. I mean, this comes back to like what do you educate children at a young age? But you teach your kids morals generally, or they learn from you that you don't talk in a certain way to elders, potentially, for example.
That's everyone. No, that's
yeah. But it's the respect piece as well, and communication. So again, when you're talking to somebody, you're trying to understand their perspective, and that's often something I try and explain to my children at different aspects of their growth. What does that person think? Why have you had that conflict? And trying to rationalise why that situation has occurred. Not necessarily that they're to blame, but what has happened to them or within that environment at school, whatever the situation is, for that situation to occur, because it's not always immediately noticeable for somebody that's maybe happened to them for the first time.
Is their objective, their perspective? You can't know it because you're not them.
No. But
no different to business and life, reflecting, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm into my sport as well, and it's one of those things, it's perception, not just about what's in front of you, but what's around you that you haven't necessarily thought about. You're thinking about what's happening there, but not, okay, there's somebody over there with a racket that I didn't notice.
That's good. So yeah, open up on that sport. So give me the parallel between the sport and how that relates to your kind of professional life.
I think it's awareness.
Okay.
Awareness, having an awareness as well as an appreciation, because sometimes it's things that you will never necessarily be able to deal with or even do, but if you have an awareness of that occurring, then knowledge is power, really. Knowledge is the ability to then be able to make plans to deal with something or get somebody else to deal with it for you.
As long as they've got the right knowledge or information, they can face the truth. And
yeah. And the other point, back to the lying piece.
Yeah.
If you give someone some knowledge, that's almost like lying, because they may then react to a situation where they've got some part of knowledge, but not actually. Oh, I've not explained about the big bad wolf behind that door. So you're not prepared for that. But sometimes also you may not tell someone something like that because it may cause undue stress given the scenario. So it's also managing a situation to the best of your abilities about integrity as well.
Yeah, and as we talk about knowledge or bits of metric, I just love the metrics of a little bit of knowledge. You could say to you could say to me, 98% of your cyber incidents are dealt with in the first 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Or you could turn around and say that 2% of your cyber incidents may bring down your whole business.
Yeah.
And it's that fragment, isn't
but that's
it?
statistics.
Yeah, exactly. It means nothing.
Yeah. It's context as well. Yeah.
So there's a whole context piece around it as well. But that's as soon as you said people want to understand it, I remember speaking to people who are hugely influential on critical infrastructure, and they just weren't interested. And when I say they weren't interested, I mean it so holistically that they really just wanted to know that it's not their problem. Yeah, I'm a director general. I'm in charge of this entire government department. As long as it's somebody else's problem, it's not mine. And cyber started that journey there. Buried 3 or 4 layers deep. I remember early on in my career, that was just a technology business over there. But yet, name me one business now, genuine large-scale business, that if you took out the technology element, it would survive. So if you successfully breached the walls of that castle, it would survive. If it lost all of its archers or the moat was breached, it would survive. And that list is not very long, unless you're doing something that has no logistics, that has no data, that has no people security aspect to it. it's got to be one of your first things you look at, right?
Well, yeah, and just while you were talking about that no data, I mean, if you don't need to hold that data, then don't.
Okay.
It's again comes back to that need to know, need to use, need to have, and fair processing. I really love the whole aspect around personal data, but you can apply it to business data. And also the fact that keep it simple. If you don't need to protect something, don't protect it. Also, what's the reasonable worst case? You mentioned about that it's not that situation or that company or that organisation is not going to ever recover. But what is the minimum recoverable? At what point, whether it's 10%, 20%, 30% degradation, at what point is there a point of no return?
Yeah. Or look at your objectives and decide. If it's threat to life, if it's threat to finance, if it's actually long term, then
And you go to the boardroom and you ask 10 people on that board their opinion on what that tolerance is, and they'll all have a different answer because they might be responsible for different parts of the business.
So the metrics and data is needed in context, right?
Correct.
Risks that are clearly aligned to those objectives are needed to just help mature the conversation almost.
And also to your point about somebody in a responsible or accountable position, if they're not interested, they just want to cover their own backside, then you need to talk to another stakeholder, because there's no way, if that's their motivation, whatever that motivation is.
You still don't know their perspective, right?
Yeah. Whatever their motivation is, you're not going to get very far. You may want to dig down into why, but that may take a lot longer. But it's getting to know your stakeholders, your people involved, who you're working with, who you can have that more candid conversation with, and who you can have a less candid conversation. So yes, I did mention about the lying piece, but it's giving enough information to somebody, or it's talking to somebody within it means to an end. Yeah. So it's doing it with the best intent. Sometimes that's not immediately obvious to the people you're talking to, or even to your team.
But I like the idea, because I almost felt guilty that you're like, oh yeah, there's an individual out there that just won't listen. But you picked up on the analogy earlier around kids as they're growing up, right?
Yeah.
It's not they're not listening. You just haven't found the voice that they want to hear.
Yeah.
You haven't understood their perspective. So there is no version of that story where a director's like, I just don't want to hear it. It's because you haven't quite understood what they need to hear to influence them correctly for the right reason. You might have to go out to their circle. They're listening to somebody, so what is that voice that you need to find to make sure they understand and then can move forward, right?
And it's relating. I would say that I'm not very good at empathizing as a skill or as an ability, but I try and sympathize. So I'm quite a visual person, so I'll try and look at visual cues, but that's just experience more than anything.
It sounds like your nature, because when you take stuff apart without a manual, you've certainly got a lot to remember in there, haven't you? But it's James, I'm going to pick up on a couple of final thoughts. I want you to hold these final thoughts, right? So I think we picked a little bit up on it, but we've had a lot of discussion. So what's the message that you would like your... Okay, let me rephrase that. What's the attitude you'd want your customers and colleagues to come to you prepared to make your job that little bit easier? What is that fertilized ground that they might come to you already standing on that will just help things get to their objective quicker than it does at the moment?
If I was talking about this from a delivery perspective, I'd say come prepared with all the prerequisites.
What are those prerequisites?
Well, it could be, for example, that you've got a list of your systems and services relevant to the project, for example.
Fine.
So be prepared. Be prepared to have. So don't tell me what your problem is. Explain to me with information, with diagrams, with approaches, with the data, because you can only help so much. You can give, for example, you can have a principle-based conversation. But you can't get to the details of the use case or the situation without a level of detail required. Sometimes it may take several conversations when you're trying to qualify what the particular issue is, which is fine. But not all customers are as patient. But it's managing their expectations too. So be honest, as honest as you can be, I would say, as a customer. But equally, that's a relationship you build up on that trust. Even, for example, coming in into a new environment with a new customer that they may know some of your peers and not you, they're getting to know what they can talk to you about and how you're going to react. So it's a two-way street. So I would say, be frank. From this is from my perspective. Mm-hmm. Be frank. Be direct. Don't shy away from telling or talking about things that maybe are contentious but are relevant, because unless you're given the information, you can't provide them with information to make an informed decision. So if you withheld information relevant, but then sometimes it's your line of questioning that gets the relevant information because they don't know if it's relevant until you ask them.
I answer because as I'm listening to you, you've meandered from some practical stuff around data and information, and you almost parked up against actually it's the attitude of the person. Are they open enough?
Correct.
Are they ready to have a discussion that's
correct,
direct? And actually, all of that other stuff could come afterwards. So, if I'm listening to you, is it okay to say that the attitude of the person, the attitude of the business, the culture they come to you with in the first place?
I mean, culture's a whole other conversation, but it can be easier with one environment than another based upon how frank they are. Yes, so the right attitude is important. Sometimes you need to change their attitude to get to the so it's a developed relationship, winning hearts and minds, influencing.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a softer skills aspect to it, I would say. Yes.
I like that. I like finishing on a soft, but the one thing we've never figured out on this, not quite a podcast, is how do we end? How do we finish a podcast?
It never ends. It just goes back to the
Do we
start
just keep
again.
talking?
Yeah.
Are we supposed to? Can someone pay us full time just to talk for hours and hours with lunch breaks? I suppose,
yeah. Is it a big bang or a black hole?
Oh no! Don't get me started. Astrophysics is my actual hobby. So, James, thank you. Brilliant.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much. Taken your house made of straw.
Yeah.
You've made it from sticks. You've made it from bricks. It can't be blown down very easily.
Yeah.
But someone can still knock on your door, right?
And you open and you're done. Your bricks don't do you any good.